The rain hammered the fire escape like 1,000 tiny accusations, each drop echoing the thud of my heart as I watched George through the steamed-up window of that dive bar in Greenwich Village. He was laughing, God. That laugh. The one that always made the world feel a little less broken. His arms slung casually around the shoulders of some broad-shouldered guy with a beard that screamed, trust fund hipster. But it wasn't the laugh that gutted me. It was the way George's fingers lingered just a second too long on the guy's neck, tracing a path that should have been mine. I pressed my palm against the cold glass, willing it to shatter, to let me scream the truth I'd buried for 3 goddamn years. I love you, you idiot, and it's killing me. That night, as the city lights blurred into a neon smear outside my therapist's office on the Upper West Side, Dr. Elena Ramirez leaned back in her leather chair, her pen tapping a rhythm that matched the storm in my chest. Timothy, she said, her voice steady as the Hudson in winter, love isn't a battlefield you keep charging into alone. Find someone available. Someone who can charge back. Her words hung there, heavy as the fog rolling off the river. But all I could picture was George's hazel eyes crinkling at the corners when he teased me about my shitty taste in craft beer. Available? Yeah, right. My heart didn't do auditions. It auditioned for him every single day. And so it began. Or maybe it had always been unraveling. Our story, stitched together from late-night diner runs after shifts at the ad agency, from rooftop barbecues where the skyline stretched out like a promise we never voiced. George and I had met freshman year at NYU, 2 wide-eyed kids from nowhere towns. Me from a dusty trailer park in rural Ohio, him from a split-level suburb in Jersey where his parents still pretended his phase with theater club was just that. We bonded over bad coffee and worse poetry slams, him with his easy charm and me with my sharp tongue that hid the ache of being the only gay kid in a high school that thought faggot was a punchline. By graduation, we were inseparable, crashing on each other's futons when rent checks bounced, sharing secrets like they were cigarettes, inhaling deep, exhaling smoke signals of what we couldn't say. But saying it, that was the grenade we both dodged. George dated women, blondes with yoga mats and dreams of starting their own Etsy empires, always with that polite enthusiasm that fooled everyone but me. I'd watch him kiss them goodbye at the door, his hand gentle on their waist, and wonder if he felt the same hollow echo I did after my own flings with guys from Grindr, the ones who ghosted after one too many questions about my best friend. You're my rock, Tim, he'd say, clapping me on the back after another breakup. His cologne, something woodsy and warm, lingering like a taunt. What would I do without you? Collapse into someone else's arms. Apparently, because that's exactly what he did the night I decided to follow Dr. Ramirez's advice and try to move on. It was a Thursday in late October, the kind of crisp fall evening where the leaves crunch underfoot like brittle bones, and the air smells of pretzels and regret. I'd swiped right on a guy named Alex, barista by day, aspiring novelist by night, with a profile pic that screamed, Safe Harbor. We met at a cozy spot in Chelsea, the walls lined with exposed brick and fairy lights that cast everything in a golden haze. Alex was sweet, all dimples and dry humor, quoting Vonnegut over IPAs while his knee brushed mine under the table. For a split second, I let myself imagine it. Mornings tangled in his sheets, lazy Sundays flipping through manuscripts, a life where George was just a fond memory, not the phantom limb I ached for. But as Alex leaned in, his breath minty and hopeful, my phone buzzed. A text from George. Hey, Rock. Bar crawl tonight? Need to drown this shitty client pitch. Pick you up in 20? My thumb hovered, Traitorous. And I typed back hell yeah before Alex could even finish his sentence about Slaughterhouse-Five. Sorry, I muttered, shoving my chair back. Work emergency. Alex's face fell, but he smiled that understanding smile guys like him perfect in therapy sessions. Available hearts only, right? He said, and I laughed it off. But the words clawed at me all the way down the sidewalk, where George's beat-up Honda idled at the curb, bass thumping from the speakers like a heartbeat on life support. We hit 3 spots that night, starting at the Stonewall Inn, where the ghosts of Stonewall whispered encouragements I couldn't heed, then weaving through the village's labyrinth of alleys and laughter. George was on fire, shots of Jameson loosening his tie and his tongue, regaling the bartender with tales of our college escapades. The time we streaked across Washington Square Park at dawn, high on cheap weed and cheaper dreams. Tim's the brave one, he slurred, slinging an arm around my shoulders, his weight warm and familiar against my side. Always jumping first. Me? I'm the follower. If only he knew how many leaps I'd taken for him, into closets I cracked open too soon, into friendships that blurred every line but the one we refused to cross. By the 4th bar, a dimly lit speakeasy called the Velvet Rope, the alcohol had burned away the filters. We squeezed onto a worn leather couch in the back, the air thick with cigar smoke and the low hum of Ella Fitzgerald crooning about someone to watch over her. George's head lolled against my shoulder, his fingers drumming absently on my knee, a rhythm we'd invented years ago, Morse code for I'm here. You ever think about it, Tim? He murmured, eyes half-lidded, the hazel flecked with gold in the lamplight. What if we'd met different, like, if I wasn't, straight, he meant. The word hung unspoken, a guillotine blade mid-swing. My throat tightened, the truth bubbling up like bile. All the time, I whispered, turning to face him, our breaths mingling in the scant space between us. His gaze sharpened, searching mine, and for one heartbeat, literally one, I thought he saw it, the depth of the chasm, the way my world orbited his gravity. Then his phone lit up, vibrating against his thigh. Babe, where are you? Miss you. XO Sarah. The girlfriend du jour. The one with the law degree and the family brownstone in Brooklyn. George's face softened, that easy smile snapping back into place like a mask. Duty calls, he said, pulling away, the warmth evaporating as he typed a reply. I excused myself to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face, staring at the stranger in the mirror, dark circles under blue eyes, stubble shadowing a jaw clenched too tight. Find someone available, Dr. Ramirez echoed in my head. But as I dried my hands, George's laughter filtered through the door, mingling with Sarah's voice on speakerphone, and I realized the truth. Availability wasn't the issue. It was inevitability. My heart had chosen him the moment he handed me that lukewarm coffee in the quad, steam rising like a vow. The weeks that followed were a masterclass in self-sabotage, a tightrope walk over the East River with no net. I threw myself into work at the agency, pitching campaigns for organic kale chips and electric scooters, burying the ache in spreadsheets and late nights. George noticed. Of course, he always did. You're a ghost, man, he'd say over takeout Thai in my cramped studio apartment on the Lower East Side, chopsticks waving like accusatory fingers. What's eating you? Girl trouble? Or guy? The hesitation there, the way his eyes flicked away, it was a crack in the facade, wide enough to tempt me to pry. One rainy Tuesday, After a pitch meeting went south and I drowned the failure in solo whiskey at a dive called McSorley's, George showed up unannounced. The door creaked open, letting in a gust of November chill, and there he was, umbrella dripping, hair plastered to his forehead, that sheepish grin that could disarm a bomb. "Heard you were here," from the bartender. "You gotta stop this lone wolf shit, Tim." He slid onto the stool beside me, ordering a pint of the house cream ale, his knee knocking mine under the scarred wooden bar. We talked for hours, about nothing and everything. The Mets' latest collapse, his sister's wedding drama, the way the city felt smaller with every high-rise scraping the sky. As last call echoed, the bar emptying like a confessional after midnight mass, George turned to me, his expression uncharacteristically raw. "Sarah and I. It's over. Again." His voice cracked on the last word, and something in me fractured too. I reached for his hand, lacing our fingers without thinking, the calluses from his guitar strings rough against my palm. "I'm sorry," I said, "but what I meant was I'm not." He didn't pull away. Instead, he squeezed back, his thumb tracing circles that sent sparks up my arm. "You're always there, though. My constant." The word hung, loaded, and in that moment, under the low-slung lamps and the scent of spilled beer, I almost said it. Almost bridged the gap. But almost isn't a bridge, it's a cliff. The next morning, hungover and hopeful, I woke to a text, "Thanks for last night. Oh, you won." Brunch? We met at a spot in Soho, all exposed beams and avocado toast, where the sunlight slanted through floor-to-ceiling windows like spotlights on our charade. George was back to his baseline, charming, deflecting with stories of reconciliation texts from Sarah, the cycle spinning anew. I nodded along, forcing laughs, but inside, the hook of Dr. Ramirez's words twisted deeper. Love someone available. So I did. Or tried to. Enter Jordan. We matched on Hinge during a bleary-eyed scroll at 2 a.m. His bio a perfect pitch. Part-time photographer. Full-time dog dad. Seeking adventures and someone to split the bill. Our first date was at the High Line, strolling the elevated tracks amid rustling sumac and the distant honk of ferries on the Hudson. Jordan was easy, tall, with freckles across his nose and a laugh that bubbled like soda. He snapped candids of me against graffiti walls, his lens lingering on the way the light caught my jawline. "You're photogenic as hell," he said, showing me the shot, and for the first time in months, I saw someone other than George staring back. We fell into a rhythm. Coffee runs in the village, movie nights in his walk-up in Harlem where his rescue mutt, Luna, curled between us like a chaperone. Jordan was available in every sense. Texts at dawn, plans without caveats, a hand on my lower back that felt like permission. "You're different," he murmured one night, after we'd tumbled into his bed, sheets tangled and breath sinking. Real. I wanted to believe it, to let his touch erase the map George had etched on my skin. But every time Jordan whispered my name, it echoed wrong, a key in the wrong lock. Thanksgiving loomed like a family obligation no one wanted, the city emptying out as bridges clogged with Ubers fleeing to Jersey and Connecticut. George invited me to his parents in Short Hills, the annual ritual of turkey and tension where his mom would side-eye my bohemian haircut and his dad would grill me on stock tips I didn't have. "Sarah's coming too," he added casually over the phone, and the line went static in my ears. Rebound brunch worked wonders. I mumbled an excuse, Jordan's family in Queens, a lie that tasted like ash and hung up, staring at the skyline from my fire escape, the Empire State Building winking like it knew my secrets. That night, I broke. Jordan was out of town for a shoot in the Berkshires, leaving me alone with a bottle of bourbon and a playlist of the National's melancholy croons. The text started innocent. Miss our bar crawls. City's too quiet. George's reply, tell me about it. Family dinner was a shit show. Come over? His place was a 10th floor walk-up in Hell's Kitchen. Walls papered in vintage Broadway posters, the air thick with the scent of his sandalwood candle. He opened the door in sweatpants and a faded Mets tee, hair tousled, eyes shadowed with the same unrest gnawing at me. We ordered pizza, extra cheese, no anchovies, and sprawled on his couch, the TV flickering with some forgettable action flick. Halfway through, the bourbon loosened the knots. Why do you do it, George? I asked, the question slipping out like a confession. The on again, off again with Sarah. You deserve more. He paused, slice midway to his mouth, cheese stringing like a lifeline. Because it's easy. Safe. His gaze met mine. Steady now, the hazel depths pulling me under. Unlike other things, the room shrank, the space between us charged like the air before a thunderclap. I set my plate down, heart hammering. What if it's not other things? What if it's just us? The words tumbled out, raw and unpolished. 3 years of pent-up storm in a teacup. George's face went still, the color draining like milk in coffee. Tim, he trailed off, running a hand through his hair, the gesture I'd memorized 1,000 times. You're my best friend. My brother. Almost. The word brother landed like a slap, stinging hot. I stood, the room spinning, bourbon sour in my throat. Fuck that. I've been in love with you since the day you dragged me to that poetry slam and called my verses fire. Every laugh, every late night. It's been you, George. Only you. The admission hung there. A guillotine finally dropped. And for a heartbeat, I saw it, the flicker of recognition, the mirror of my own longing in his eyes. Then it shuddered, walls slamming up faster than I could blink. I can't, he whispered, standing too, hands outstretched like I was a spooked horse. Sarah, she gets me. It'd ruin everything. Ruin. The word echoed Dr. Ramirez's warnings, but twisted, a betrayal sharper than any ghosting. I laughed, bitter and broken. It's already ruined, man. Has been since we pretended. The door clicked shut behind me, the hallway lights buzzing like fluorescent judgment, and I stumbled into the elevator, tears hot on my cheeks. Outside, the city roared on, taxis splashing puddles, laughter spilling from doorways, but I was adrift, untethered, the hook of unrequited love lodged deeper than ever. The fallout was a slow bleed, December's chill seeping into my bones as I ghosted Jordan's texts, dodged George's calls, and doubled down on therapy. Dr. Ramirez didn't sugarcoat it. You bared your soul, Timothy. That's bravery, not failure. Now, heal from the wound. Easier said than done when every corner of Manhattan held a memory. The bench in Bryant Park where we'd split a hot dog and dreamed of Oscars. The stoop on Bleecker where he'd patched my knee after a skateboarding wipeout. Blood and banter mingling like fate. Christmas Eve found me at Jordan's. Luna's head in my lap as we strung lights on a Charlie Brown tree. the scent of pine mingling with mulled wine. He was gentle, no pressure, his fingers brushing mine as we hung ornaments, tiny glass stars that caught the firelight like promises. "You don't have to talk about it," he said, when the silence stretched too thin. But I did, haltingly, the story spilling out in fits, the friendship, the love, the rejection that left me hollow as a snow globe shaken too hard. Jordan listened. I soughed, and when I finished, he pulled me close. "I'm here," he murmured, lips against my temple. "Available. For a week." It worked. New Year's dawned with fireworks over the harbor. Jordan's hand in mine as we cheered from his rooftop, confetti raining like absolution. I let myself lean into it, the way he kissed with intention, not habit. The mornings where he brewed coffee strong enough to wake the dead, humming show tunes off-key. It was normal, good even, the kind of love Dr. Ramirez prescribed. But normal isn't home. One night, scrolling Instagram in the dim glow of his bedroom, I saw it, George's post, a candid of him and Sarah at Times Square, her head on his shoulder, caption New Year, same us. Grateful. The like button mocked me, thumb frozen, and I slipped out before dawn, leaving a note, "You're amazing. But I'm not ready. Sorry." January brought blizzards that buried the city in white, mirroring the frost in my chest. Work became a grind, endless revisions on a Super Bowl spot for some energy drink that promised unleash the beast within. I unleashed mine in the gym, pounding treadmills until my lungs burned, or in dive bars where anonymity was the only rule. George tried reaching out, a voicemail here, a coffee invite there, but I let them stack like unread mail, each one a scab I couldn't pick without bleeding. Then came the betrayal, sharp as a winter wind off the Hudson. It was Valentine's Day, the streets clogged with florists hawking overpriced roses, couples clutching each other like lifelines. I'd holed up in my apartment, Netflix queued with rom-coms I swore I'd hate watch, when the buzzer screamed. Against better judgment, I answered. "Delivery." The voice crackled, and there stood a kid in a red vest, thrusting a bouquet of lilies, white and pure, George's favorite. The card, "Heard you're avoiding me." "Don't." Gee, rage boiled over, hot and unbidden. I marched the 3 blocks to his building, lilies clutched like a weapon, pounding on the door until it flew open. George stood there, shirtless, towel slung low on his hips, fresh from a shower, Sarah's laughter echoing from the bedroom behind him. "Tim? What the? You think flowers fix this?" I thrust them at his chest, petals scattering like shrapnel. "After you string me along, play the tortured straight guy, then run back to her." My voice cracked, volume rising with the hurt. Sarah appeared then, robe cinched tight, eyes wide. "George? What's going on?" he stammered, face paling. "It's not Tim." Wait, but I didn't. The words poured out, a torrent. The years of quiet longing, the night I confessed and he chose safe. Sarah's confusion morphed to horror, her gaze darting between us. "You love him?" she whispered, and George's silence was the loudest yes he'd never said. She stormed out, robe flapping, door slamming like a period at the end of our charade. George rounded on me, eyes blazing. "You happy now? You just blew up my life." His voice broke, accusation laced with something deeper, fear, maybe or the echo of my own pain. I was trying to fix things, to be your friend again. Friend, I spat. The word venom. That's your betrayal, George. Pretending that's enough when we both know it's a lie. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm. Grip iron. Don't. Please. Close. Water droplets clung to his lashes, vulnerability cracking his armor. I didn't know. Or maybe I did, and I was scared. Scared of what it means if you're right. The alley behind his building swallowed us whole. Rain starting as a drizzle, then a deluge, soaking through my coat. We stood there, chests heaving, the neon from the velvet rope flickering like a heartbeat. What now? I asked, voice small against the storm. He stepped closer, hand cupping my jaw, thumb brushing my lip, a touch I dreamed of in fevered nights. Now. We try. If you'll have me. His lips met mine, tentative at first, then fierce, tasting of rain and revelation. The world narrowed to that kiss, the scrape of stubble, the press of bodies yielding, years of tension uncoiling like a spring. But love isn't a montage, it's the mess after. The weeks blurred, awkward brunches with Sarah's fallout, therapy sessions where Dr. Ramirez beamed like a proud matchmaker, stolen moments in Central Park where George's hand in mine felt like claiming lost territory. We navigated the rubble, his coming out to his folks over Easter ham, their stunned silence thawing to teary hugs, my slow thaw with Jordan, who clapped me on the back with a "knew you had a beast in there." By summer, the city hummed with possibility, fireworks over the East River, our fingers laced on a blanket in Dumbo, skyline sprawling like forgiveness. George proposed on that same fire escape, ring simple silver, knees on the gritty metal. Available now, he whispered, and I said yes, heart finally choosing and chosen back. In the end, it wasn't about availability, it was about arrival. We arrived, battered but whole, in a love that chose us both. And in the quiet mornings, coffee steaming between us, I knew some hearts don't audition. They rewrite the script. The rain hammered the fire escape like 1,000 tiny accusations, each drop echoing the thud of my heart as I watched George through the steamed-up window of that dive bar in Greenwich Village. He was laughing, God, that laugh. The one that always made the world feel a little less broken. His arms slung casually around the shoulders of some broad-shouldered guy with a beard that screamed, trust fund hipster. But it wasn't the laugh that gutted me. It was the way George's fingers lingered just a second too long on the guy's neck, tracing a path that should have been mine. I pressed my palm against the cold glass, willing,